Welcome to The Right Side.
And with me now is the brand new 7th District Chair, District 3, Livingston County Commissioner, Frank Sample. So welcome, Frank.
You're very active in the American Legion.
Correct.
You're very active in the VFW.
This ideology is very damaging to the students who are told if you get this surgery and make do the social transition, the medical transition, then you'll be happy and all your problems
Yes,
will be solved.
learned so much.
I'll bet. That's some
Institutional knowledge right there.
And we have, as a special guest, as I said earlier, we have Kevin Rankin with us. Welcome, Kevin. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Go Bogue. Thanks, Kelly. There are those
no
everywhere.
shortage of them.
We love meeting new people.
Right, yes.
It's in good shape, so that's good news.
That safeness is not afforded to every citizen. They are
Agreed.
special.
There's a difference between men and women. There's a biological
Sure.
difference, and it's time for us to stand up for our girls.
He went through and he came back with a report said there's no way Detroit can meet its obligations on the tax base.
Yes.
So is this DEI focused just on the high school, or are they talking about all
District. The
whole
entire district.
Maybe that's kind of normal. It's really not. There tends to be little fiefdoms with, different police agencies and police versus fire and fire versus EMS and blah, blah, blah. That's not the case here. So Livingston County is very fortunate.
Hey, not too long ago, in many of our lifetimes, Detroit was the 3rd largest city in America.
Oh, yeah.
3.2 million
Yeah.
citizens.
It's been a great experience. I mean, I have no regrets about moving here.
There's an old saying that the road will get you elected, the jail will get you unelected. So, to give you an idea.
You have to have a reason to change for change to be enacted.
Why should you join the Livingston County Republican Party?
Why, you ask?
Yeah, why?
Why join?
The Republican Party is the party of common sense.
Common sense.
Republicans support the Constitution.
Republicans protect your rights.
We fight to keep your children safe.
We fight to keep boys and men out of girls and women's sports.
We fight to keep boys out of girls' restrooms.
We fight for you.
What does the Republican Party do?
We help Republican candidates get elected.
Why is it important to elect Republicans?
Why is that important?
Why?
Tell me, why is that important?
Livingston County is one of the safest counties in Michigan.
Livingston County has one of the lowest crime rates in the state of Michigan.
Livingston County has the lowest tax millage rate of all 83 counties.
Republicans work to balance the budget.
Republican legislators vote against raising your taxes.
Republican elected officials believe in transparency.
Republican clerks run elections with integrity.
Republican trustees protect your rights. Republicans support our veterans.
Who can join?
If you are conservative, we want you in our party.
All conservatives are welcome at our table.
Join our activities.
Join the fun.
Become a member.
Join us now.
Hi, I'm Deb Drick, Chair of the Livingston County Republican Party. Our conservative message has been very well received in Livingston County, and I'm so happy to share with you that people are stepping up right and left to help. The only thing's missing is you. Come join our mission. Come join our fun. Go to livingstonrepublicans.com and click join. You'll be glad you did. Good evening and welcome to the Right Side Podcast on June 9th. As promised, our special guest tonight is Mike Rogers, a hometown boy and candidate for Senate. And we're glad to have him here. I've been telling you that he's coming here since the last couple of weeks or few weeks that he's, whoops, wait a minute, excuse us. Let me get this here. There we go. Okay, we're all set now. Sorry, technical error there. So, yeah, you got me all worked up now.
You're your own director and producer.
I know. Well, I got Tyler here to help me if I get stuck. So, welcome home, Mike. As many of you know, or maybe some of you newer Republicans don't know, Mike is from Livingston County, right? So why don't you kind of start right in with the welcome home speech of where you came from and
I love it. Well,
what
actually,
you did?
by the way, I just want to say, great job on the ad. It made me want to join
All right,
the Livingston
all
County
right.
Republican Party. Great job. Please, for the viewers, you got to get involved. This is the time to get involved.
Mhm.
So I grew up in a little town called Brighton. I was right on the edge
Mhm.
between Brighton and Howell. And so I had a Brighton address, went to Howell schools.
Mhm.
Matter of fact, it was closer to Brighton High School by miles, but by God, they weren't going to budge. And I rode about a 25-minute back then 25-minute
Right,
bus
right.
ride to Howell High School. But it was a great way to grow up. My mom was the local chamber director here in Brighton, and helped really grow and get this community and the community you see today that you
She
want to
did,
live in.
she
Yeah,
did.
she was really, really active. Matter of fact, not far from here, I was even a reserve police officer in Hamburg Township. Little trivia for you. I used to
There it
work
is.
at Meyer Thrifty Acres for the afternoon shift, and then I would get in the car, go over to the police station, get my uniform on, and serve from 12 to 8. Joe Favitz was the police chief. These are
Oh
people,
my
do you
gosh,
remember that?
yes, I do. I
Yeah.
remember that name.
They needed help. So I went through a
Wow.
little program, and I became a reserve police officer in Hamburg Township. And by the way, there's population like 5.
Yes,
back
I
then.
know. And now they're the biggest, I think the most dense population voter wise.
Yeah.
So that would have been Brighton Meyer, because I don't think there was a Howell Meyer.
No,
when
it
they
was
was-
Brighton. I mean, it's right.
Yeah, yeah, there wasn't a Howell Meyer, I don't
Our
think
kind of
then.
life centered around Brighton, even though I
Right,
went to
right,
Howell High
right,
School. It
right.
kind of our life kind of centered
Yeah.
around there.
I just don't think people know that there at one time there was a Brighton, not a Howell Meyer. So
Yeah,
but that was
that's
back
true.
then. Yeah.
There is now a big
Yeah,
Howell.
there
Myers.
was a big
Yeah.
one. Yes.
Yeah. So, and by the way, my mom helped get that Myers here, which was it took a lot of effort from local community and everybody pulling together, because we didn't have anything that resembled a big grocery store like that.
Right.
And so she was actively working to try to get that grocery store. So it was a big deal for her when Meyer came to town. She had
Right.
a lot to do with it, and she brought the movie theater to town, if you like that.
Oh, the big
MJR.
yes.
Oh yeah, she helped put all that deal together to bring that movie theater.
If I
here in town.
remember correctly, there are a lot of things that it didn't say Haynes until Joyce Rogers said Haynes. I think that's probably
She was a force to be reckoned with. But
Yes.
it was fun, and you remember this at the time. And by the way, you're doing such a great job as chair.
Thank you.
Bringing
Thank
the
you.
party back. I was at the Lincoln Day in an off year. To see that many people show up in an off year is a testament to you and your team. and
Oh,
all
we
the
have a
folks
great
that are
team.
working.
Great
Oh my
team.
gosh.
Great team.
Really, really important. But back then it was, the party was a lot smaller. I mean, it was pretty Republican, although we had Democrats sprinkled around the county.
Sure.
And, my mom served as one of the first women elected county commissioners.
Right.
She did her 8 years, said she
Mhm.
finished what work she was done and stepped away. So she was kind of that original community activist in a good way.
Yes.
Lower
Oh,
taxes,
yes.
pro-business, all of those things. And I can see a little about what you're doing. It feels like it's coming back to me.
Oh wow!
I'm telling you. No,
that
I'm
is a
telling you.
compliment. All right, I'm done right now. We're gonna close the show up. I just want to play that part over and over for a while. Wow,
It's a true story.
That's a compliment.
Because people are interested in coming again. Back then, the Republican county, you remember that was the thing. You wanted to go out on a Saturday night, you went to the Republican, Lincoln Day dinner.
remember.
We'd get 300-400 people, and that was a big deal back then. So,
I remember.
but you can feel that coming back. So thanks for doing all that. It's really, really important.
Oh.
If you care about your county, you care about your state, you care about your country, thanks for what you're doing.
Oh well, we all care here. I mean,
it's
we're
obvious.
all we set a rule in our first strategic or our strategic plan early in January, and the rule was this: everybody's got a seat at the table. Leave your drum at the door.
Love that.
That's it. And so far it's working. People are coming back and getting involved, and we're just thrilled about that. June is
Electing Republicans.
Yes.
Remember that whole
Yes.
bit of the Republican Party?
Yes.
Electing Republicans, really important.
We had a stellar year last year as far as we set a goal for 80% turnout, and we fell short 79.9 or something like that, but we're still going to take that as a win. But we started out in January with 30 empty seats and put on trainings all year look, if you're even thinking about it, becoming a candidate, I was hoping to get 10 people in that door and then have 3 say yes, 3 say maybe, and maybe 3 say no. And I thought, well, that'll make 6. I had 40 people.
Oh,
The
that's
next time I had
fantastic.
45 people. And
That's
so we had
fantastic.
ended up having 6 classes last year of teaching people, here's how you go through a campaign. This is what you can expect. And we filled all those 30 spots. So I could not be prouder of this team that, really worked hard. We knocked doors for them. We taught them how to knock doors, taught them what to do. And if they followed the plan, they won. So it was a great, a banner year for electing Republicans. So Christy Cox said, your mom was a wonderful commissioner.
Thanks, Christy Cox. You were fantastic. The thing about that is when you were talking about knocking on doors, people don't realize how important that is for an election. If 90% of the time when you knock on a door and you talk to a person, or you even say, hey, I'm dropping off some lit for candidate A or B, likely they're not going to meet another candidate or another worker for another candidate. You are likely to get that vote.
Yes.
That's why door knocking, and people are intimidated by it. I get it. But it is a very powerful tool. And so Rogers for Senate last go round, we knocked on, with all of your help, many of you who are watching this, 750,000 doors and 4 million voter contacts.
Right.
And when we were getting absolutely blown out, the Democrats outspent us 5-1. When we were getting blown out, where we were winning, it's door to door. And so we were just grinding out the doors. Right. And that's what kept us in the game, and why we came as close as we did, 0.3% out of 5.6 million votes. It was the ground game, and why ground game is going to be equally, a matter of fact, I argue, more important this next election than it was even last election.
I agree.
Yeah.
You don't have the draw of the presidential to get here. And the other thing we did is I kind of did a bit of an experiment last year. I just wanted, it wasn't something that stopped any other situation, but we all talk about the top down vote. I knew somebody that never voted before, never ever voted, an adult. And this person decided to vote for the first time in 2020, not for anybody in particular up at the top, but because their neighbor was running, asked them to vote for him, and because they were running for a trustee or position or something. So that person registered to vote, asked me about it. How do I register? Sure, here's how you do it. You go do it. Here's how you vote. And while you're there, vote for everybody on that ticket, vote for the, and I started thinking, how many of those new candidates last year that were brand new trustees, brand new, went around and talked to all their friends and stuff. How many of those were voters that then voted for Tom Barrett and for you and for President Trump that wouldn't have? And so I think there's kind of a bottom up, a ground up vote too, not just a top down vote. So
absolutely.
I think all these new voters are the voters that come in and would never really they're just disengaged, and until it's their neighbor or their brother or whatever, and then they're going to go and then they're going to vote. So
and here's
I love
our
getting
challenge.
new people.
Here's our challenge to talk about new people.
Mm-hmm.
Over 100,000 voters walked into the booth in Michigan, voted for Donald Trump, and turned around and walked out.
Oh.
And what we've got to do as a party,
right,
is start talking. Obviously, they were attracted to Trump's agenda. We need them to understand who the Republican Party is.
Right.
These are people who weren't engaged, probably, matter of fact, by definition, didn't vote in the last 4 elections.
Right.
But they came out, they were, inspired by the Trump agenda and voted. So if we can get a slice of those people to become Republican, we don't need them all, but we sure need a good chunk of them.
Sure.
And think about how much we have in common with them. And so this is a huge opportunity. And those are those same kind of people. They're not engaged. They're not really following politics. But having someone, a neighbor or someone, say, "Hey,
while you're voting for me, let's go up."
While you're voting for me for trustee, because
I'm
going to go and fight for getting our road paved or whatever that issue is. Guess what? Here, let me tell you about the rest of the party and why you should do it.
Agreed. Agreed. Yeah. And that's kind of what we're going to, that's sort of the position we took a little bit last year, but what I noticed was in those areas where we had brand new trustees, 3-4 of them, the Barrett numbers were higher, so it is working. So we're going to put a lot of focus on that next year. So that'll come back. So let me ask you a couple questions here. I think, there's some obvious questions I think everybody wants to know. So let's just get to those. And that is, first of all, you were here and for just about a big chunk of your adult life. You were a legislator both in state and federal, and that was wonderful. But you left, and you had your reasons. That's fine. What brought you back? Why are you back? Why are you re-entering the legislative world?
Yeah. So I've been out for 10 years.
Mhm.
And one of the things that you realize is, so I still had some business interests here.
Sure.
Actually Livingston County Small Engineering Company. I was on their
Mhm.
advisory board. I actually worked for WJR for a while.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I did
Uh-huh,
those
uh-huh.
morning vignettes
Yep, yep.
on there for a while, which was great. But my family's here. So we were always here. You never really get too far from home.
Sure.
And Michigan is home. Livingston County is home. Over 55 years of my life spent here in the state. I left for military service.
Mhm.
I left for about 2 years to do something else that you may have seen on the on TV. But we were always finding ourselves here more than anywhere else, and so we really wanted to come back for family. My niece and nephew. Why we moved back was for that primarily.
Okay.
They're right at that sports age. I have a nephew who's a very talented athlete.
Oh, good.
And playing for Catholic Central. And we have a niece who, by the way, just this weekend we went to her. What do you call it? Dance recital. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. So 5 boys in our family. Not a lot of dance recitals going on.
Okay. All right.
But we went to this. That was her final tryout. We just found out yesterday she made the intensive dance team. So
Ooh.
she is thrilled to the
Okay,
moon.
good.
And it means my wife and I will be able to get to see a lot
Sure,
more dance
sure,
recitals. Which,
sure.
and by the way, it was really fantastic. It was like a professional show.
Sure.
It was really something to watch. And she's younger. She's in 7th grade, going into 8th grade. So
She's got a lot of time to even.
yeah,
perfect.
but we thought
Good.
this is the best opportunity wherever we're going to have to be around them as they're growing up,
Sure.
spend some time with them. And then I looked at it in the last 10 years. Listen, when I left
What year did you leave?
14 was my last full year in the United States
Okay.
Congress.
Okay. All right.
The deficit, by the way, was $468 billion, which
Okay.
was too high.
Right.
But we were also paying for Iraq and Afghanistan.
Right. Right.
In 2015, it was scheduled to go down.
Okay.
It went from $468 billion when I left to over $2 trillion today.
Ouch.
In a decade. Something's wrong. When I looked at that, I said, this cannot continue. When you look at the state of the military, when you think about what Biden did to the military. So my son was a Naval Academy graduate, served in the United States Navy, couldn't wait to get out.
Ouch. Last time I saw them, they were little.
I know.
You
I know.
bring them
Isn't
to
that
my
crazy?
Habitat for Humanity openings. Oh my gosh.
I know.
Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but it's true. It's
Ouch.
amazing. It is amazing. Yeah. Remember when he tells the story about he got in trouble for throwing candy. Remember they passed a law about 15 years ago. You can't throw candy or whatever. Oh my gosh, he got in trouble. He couldn't help himself. So he was a great military guy for just that reason right there. Anyway, looked at what they did. I said, you know what, we can and much do better. Our education in the last 10 years is worse.
Mhm.
Our economic environment is worse. Our tax burden is higher. I know how to do this. As chairman, I was able to cut the federal budget before DOGE was a thing. I cut about 10% out of the intelligence budget.
Roge.
It was. I love that. Can I steal that?
You
I'm
can,
going to
it's
steal
yours,
that.
that's
A Roge.
yours. Roge.
We did it Roge. They just
That's
put the
right.
D in
That's
there.
right.
By the way, one of the reasons Donald Trump, got me to run was for that. He understood that I knew
Okay.
how to fundamentally cut government when everyone tells you can't do it.
Okay.
If you recall, at that time, we're at the height of the Iraq and Afghanistan war. Everyone's saying you can't cut the intelligence budget. When I looked at the budget, there was so much fat in this thing. They were just, throwing cash. If you said the word terrorism, somebody showed up with a
That's
truckload
right.
of cash.
That's right.
And so we needed to stop that. And so I was able to take out $7.5 billion out of a $78 billion budget. By the time I was done, it was $11 billion. And so I throw the red flag. Anyone says, "Oh, you can't cut. It can't be done. It's too hard." No, if we continue this path, we are in big trouble. So I thought, you know what? I have a lot to offer. I did pretty well for myself in the last 10 years in the cybersecurity space. I had 2 companies that I was a part of, got acquired by other companies. That helps a little bit. And I thought, if I'm going to do this, this is the time. I have the expertise. And I also have 10 years of private sector experience. So I've signed the front of a check, and I've also been in the government, and I've also punched a time clock.
Right.
I just think that's the kind of guy you want to go in for a no-nonsense solution to these kind of things and help Donald Trump legislate on his 111 executive orders. And so we talked about it. It is, it's very disruptive to your life. But I just think it's such an important endeavor, and I can't think of a more important time. Trump is by the time this election happens, we'll have 2 more years. Think how much more work there is to be done. And if you don't have people who are of that mindset going into it, what does this thing look like? They're going to try to flip it right back the way it was.
Agreed.
And we'll be talking about men and girls bathrooms. We'll be talking about buying Chinese cars. And the government mandating your stove, your refrigerator, and your vehicle, right? Not the things that bring us together as Republicans.
Agreed. Yes, that's horrible. All right, let me ask you something here. I got some questions here that I kind of jotted down. I'm looking back. You've been gone 10 years. I look back at 10 years ago.
Not gone, out of politics.
Yeah, I'm sorry, out of politics. Yes, gone from politics. Sorry. Yes, you've been not elected for the last 10 years. So, I look back at myself 10 years ago and I think about, things I might have thought of differently, things I might have done differently. So let me ask you this. What has changed about you, legislative speaking, or as a politician or as a legislator? What's different about you now? What has changed, and what might, moving forward, you would do differently? And then consequently, or conversely, what would you never change? So tell me, give me that if you can.
Well, my principles never change.
Right.
Those are always constant.
Okay.
How you approach issues, I think, are going to change. The issues we're facing today that weren't there 10 years ago.
Right.
And as I said, one of the reasons I got in, I watched what the Chinese have done to us in cyberspace in the last 10 years. They are getting better and more aggressive, and they are getting candidly more vicious. And you just saw what happened at University of Michigan right on the tail of that. And if we have a minute, I'll talk about that. But I've watched how bad how good our adversaries are getting in cyberspace, and how bad we are at dealing with it as a country. We are getting ripped off every single day. And so I started this conversation. Matter of fact, one of the other things I did that I think Trump liked, I did this in the early 2000s. I did we called it a countervailing duty bill, because China was stealing our intellectual property, primarily in the automotive industry here, in parts. And so I was trying to, wave the flag like, hey, we have a problem here. We need to do something. I introduced this bill. I never got invited to the Chamber of Commerce, Christmas party for like the next 5 years, because they were upset. Remember, China was the gold rush. Everybody's going to go to China, and everybody's going to make all this money, and it's going to be wonderful for America. Come to find out, it was exactly what guys like me were saying was going to happen. They ripped off our intellectual property. They repurposed. They compete against us. They have every unfair advantage that they engage in for commerce around the world. And so when you look at all of those things, obviously, and by the way, that reciprocal bill, so you get me all worked up. That reciprocal tariff bill is what you see Trump doing now on tariffs.
I was going to say something. You know what? Back then, I remember you talking about China being a big problem in the future, and the dangers of China long before President Trump did. So I just want to tell you, somebody was paying attention out there. Anybody paying attention? Mike absolutely identified that as a threat a long, long time ago, and was talking about it long before President Trump came along. And I listened to President Trump say it, and I think, he's saying what Mike said.
Exactly. And now they're getting worse, as again, what you're seeing.
Right.
And so, listen, I think we need a better plan to tackle China and how we continue. Now, I think Donald Trump has done a great job up front. I think there's more to do to try to put them back in the box. So they use lawfare, they use economic warfare, they use diplomacy as a state entity. So we don't do that, right? We believe in the government has its role, private sector has its role, and I like that. I believe that. That's America. That's capitalism. They have everything under one roof, and it causes us some trouble. And so I think we're going to have to get creative in the way we push back. I think tariffs was a great way to do that. Matter of fact, GM just announced they're bringing jobs back from Mexico. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, nice.
It's working. We just have to have a little bit of patience. It's going to work, and we're going to be better off for it, and our kids are going to be better off for it. So when you talk about all the things, hard to say what you wouldn't do, but I think
what, in your legislative dealings or in your politics at all, what is different now? What would you say? The 10 years ago, Mike Rogers would have done this. this time I would do it this way. I don't know if maybe there isn't anything, but I
Oh
just
my
didn't know if
gosh,
you
you
kind
know,
of thought
there's
about that.
all kinds of things that I could probably point to that said we thought it was going to do this, but it ended up doing this, and we need to change it to do that. I don't think Congress is a set it and forget it kind of place anyway.
Right.
You have to legislate to what's happening at the time, and then don't walk away from it. I mean, we can talk about the Patriot Act. I hear about that a lot.
Oh yeah. Well, that's a good topic.
Yeah, exactly. When I first got in, think of this. We just had 3,000 Americans slaughtered. And they come to us and say, here's one of the legal problems. Remember, at that time, there weren't smartphones. We didn't have smartphones.
Right.
But what we had was email, the World Wide Web. And so if you send an email from the Gaza Strip to Saudi Arabia, that linkage could actually go through New York and back overseas, right?
Okay.
It's the World Wide Web. It takes the path of least resistance.
Sure.
And so what was under the law, if that email between two foreigners suspected of terrorism hit a server in New York, that we would have to get a full-blown warrant. The law enforcement agencies would have to try to get a full-blown warrant as it was a U.S. citizen.
Okay.
They treated the server as a U.S. citizen.
All right.
An impossible height. You couldn't do it. I mean, they were saying they're having conversations all day long. We can't even. We know terrorist one is talking. Terrorist two, we can't do anything about it. And so we thought, okay, we better change that. You need to treat foreigners like foreigners. And that's really what's the intent of the Patriot Act. Unfortunately, the FBI, I think it started under Comey. And I had that conversation with the president. And it's someday I'll have to be able to tell it because it's quite funny.
Oh, yes, I'd love to hear that.
Because I maybe needled them a little bit about hiring Comey.
Oops.
Yeah, exactly. And President Trump, you have to be in the right mood when you needle President Trump.
47. You want me to see the humor in that? No.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure he did either on that one. So I had to retract that a little bit.
Okay.
What they did is they created a culture where they were abusing the authorities that were given them that was never intended.
Okay.
I don't believe in warrantless searches of American citizens at all. It doesn't work. It shouldn't happen. And the FBI was finding, they found afterward, the FBI was using it not once or twice, but thousands and thousands of times inappropriately.
Yeah.
And so I was gone at that time, but that's when they should have gone in and put the guardrails on. So I supported the change. I mean, if I knew what I knew today, is that what you're asking? I would say I would have put the guardrails on a lot tighter up front. I never would have allowed it to burn out of control. But, at that time, you're thinking everybody's fighting terrorists and trying to stop more people from killing us.
So it kind of took a life of its own.
It did take a life of its own.
Right.
And would I have ever guessed at that time, honestly, that an FBI director would decide to get into politics?
That had to hurt you to think that.
God.
You were an FBI agent.
I was an FBI agent. I worked organized crime. I worked public corruption in Chicago. I worked murder cases and bombing cases and human trafficking cases. And to think that anyone would interject politics. And as a matter of fact, we had these big bays of squads of agents. And there were probably 15 agents on the organized crime squad.
Okay.
And so it's all big bay. You could pretty much guess what people's politics were, but you never talked about it. You never talked about it. And matter of fact, if there was, the one liberal tended to stand out because he would say the dumbest ass. Oops, can I say ass on these? Okay, good. The dumbest ass things.
I don't edit.
Am I going to get bleeped?
So you're all right.
I'm getting the producer over there shaking his finger at me. I mean, you could kind of figure it out, but you just didn't do it. You never brought it into the office. It was inappropriate. We looked at the Constitution and law, not color, race, politics, any of that. And to see someone
remember those days?
I love those days.
I know.
And I think those days can come back. I think Kash
so.
Patel's on the way to get it back. And I think Trump will not allow it to be anything other than that.
Good.
And so, again, there's another one. Would we have let the FBI, and it kind of happened with Comey when I left, get out of control like that? No. And so you have to think, I would have been much more aggressive then, which is one of the reasons I want to go back. I know what the FBI is supposed to do and how it's supposed to do it. And we'll have to do it. And so I supported all of the changes that Trump supported and Kash Patel supported that now still have a version of the Patriot Act that works.
Okay.
And think about those students smuggling pathogens.
Yes.
There were elements of the Patriot Act used in intercepting them.
Okay.
Foreigner to foreigner,
So it would have
not
been
American citizen.
It
to
was the
American citizen.
original elements that was used, but
Yes.
not the ones that were added and twisted.
Yeah,
And,
what
and I'll use the bad word to bastardize to.
Oh no,
to,
they did.
You know,
They
to,
absolutely corrupted this thing in
yeah,
a way that
okay.
was unrecognizable to me, and the bureau became unrecognizable in the way they hired people. And to have leaders of the FBI expressing their political opinion so openly, like I don't like the president for X, Y. I never
Mhm.
heard of that. I mean, I was shocked about that. And so, had I been in Congress, I'll guarantee you that we would have been a lot more aggressive. And had I been the FBI director, I would guarantee you that never would have happened. We would
Yeah.
have never allowed that to happen.
No.
And so, things like that,
Okay.
obviously. I
Yeah,
would
just
change.
curious
Yeah.
because I mean, everybody changes, everybody learns. So
Well,
so,
I mean, who would have thought we would have got killed,
Really,
slaughtered
really.
by 3,000 Americans by 19
I know,
people who hijacked airplanes?
I know.
Who would have thought that would have happened?
We never thought, we never saw it coming.
And think of it now with cybersecurity. I mean, would you have
Yeah.
thought you have to worry about the kinds of
No.
things you have to worry about now?
I didn't think I'd have to worry about
Yeah.
kids reading porn in libraries either. So
I-
yeah.
or men
yeah,
strolling
that's
into
right.
a daughter's locker room,
That's right.
saying that.
So
I mean, some of this stuff is just. And here's the good news. This is the good news
Yes.
for all our listeners. The Democrats have lost their minds.
oh my gosh.
They have lost their
Oh my
minds.
gosh,
This is
they
good for
have.
us.
They have.
We are going to be the common sense party of conservative values that is going to take back not only the state of Michigan but
That-
our country.
We
It's
have
exciting.
gained so many Republican voters of the parents and the friends and the female students that have been just abused in this way every time they do something that send more swing voters our way. So it is what it is. All right, as a man of your word, what assurances will you give voters moving forward? You're elected. What assurances? I can swear on this red tablecloth right here that this is what I'm going to do and this is what I won't do. What kind of things can you say?
Oh, well, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do here. So a couple of
Okay.
things, if you look at where the state is today,
Mhm.
which was one of the reasons I decided to get back into this.
Okay.
Education system, we're now
Oh.
43rd.
Terrible.
We're graduating like fourth graders. Over 60% of our fourth graders can't read at the fourth grade level in the state. And I know education is funny. It's not necessarily a federal issue. I think we ought to get out of it. But what we can help on things is reading reclamation. I'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
If you can't read in the fourth grade by the fourth grade, you have a 70% chance of being on welfare or being imprisoned. Think of that, 70. Why? You learn to read up to the third grade. You read to learn after the third grade.
Right.
And so the Democrats and liberal policies have sentenced a generation of kids to not being able to read. I think this is the civil rights issue of our lifetime. You regret 57% of high school seniors last year couldn't read at the sixth grade level. Think of this, right? You know, the number one reason that people were not able to get in, and it's changing this year, but
Mhm.
couldn't get into the U.S. military, couldn't read well enough to pass the test.
Oh.
We did this to ourselves. This is fixable.
Yes.
And we can
Yeah,
do it.
yes.
I'm going to work with the next Republican governor, and we are going to help fix this.
Good.
My wife and I have been a part of this thing called Beyond Basics. Started in Detroit. We've been big supporters of this. They're working miracles with these kids. They're finding kids who are reading at the first grade level as juniors.
That's
think about how much money we just wasted. Number one.
Right.
Two, how unfair is it to that student? How unfair is it to the teacher that you send that student into and say, teach ninth grade? Teach ninth grade, they can't read at the first grade level. They can take these kids from 6 to 14 weeks, depending on where you're at in reading, and getting you up to read at grade level.
Wow.
It's impressive.
Wow.
And I'm going to tell you the secret sauce.
Miraculous.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Phonics.
Isn't that? I taught all my kids,
Secret
my
sauce.
grandkids, I taught them all phonics. When they said they were just getting rid of phonics, I thought that's worse than new math. it makes no sense.
It's awful. And so for our national security, we got to get this right. For the future, we have to get this right. I'm going to work with the next Republican governor in the Michigan. We're going to come up off of 43. There are 8 cities listed in the most violent cities in America in Michigan. And I'm not talking about just murders,
right?
But it's assaults in the whole 9 yards.
Sure.
I'm going to work with those municipalities to make sure, and our state police to make sure that they have the resources they need to get them off the list. There's no reason we should be on this list. I think education is a big part of this.
Yes, I agree.
So we're going to work on all in tandem. We're going to do this together. Obviously, we're going to cut taxes. We're going to make it so that, by God, the government isn't on your back. Imagine a smaller, more effective government that actually works for you, not against you. Huh? Holy mackerel. Have you ever seen such a thing? By God, when we're done. and listen, I'm going to serve 2 6-year terms. I don't think I should be there forever. I don't think any politician should be there too long. It changes the way they think, which is why I left in 2014. As you know, I could have been, I could still be a member of Congress.
You would have been, yes.
And I just don't think that's right. I mean, our founding fathers said, serve, go home, come back. Guess what? This is my comeback part.
Okay.
So we're going to, and in those 12 years, we're going to be very aggressive about making sure the government is smaller. We're going to keep Doge as a reality.
Roge.
Yeah, Roge. I like it. We're going to Roge the Doge.
Roge the Doge. You heard it here, folks.
We did. You're going to see that on a bumper sticker real soon.
I love it.
Mainly because I think they're probably missed some things in cuts. And some of them went a little deep, or whatever that is. We're going to figure that out.
Okay.
Having somebody that understands that, I think, is going to be really important. We know that there's some critical minerals offices that got cut so bad they can't do the thing they're doing. So maybe they need 2 more people there. But this is one thing. You asked me what I would do different, and I'm going to do this time.
All right.
Cutting that top line budget, I thought was the right thing to do, and it did cut 10% out of that budget, no doubt about it. But it grew back pretty fast. Why? Because we didn't say, when you have 100 people doing this, you get 60 people to do this. And by the way, we're going to give you some new technology to make your jobs easier. The government's never been modernized.
No.
So having someone smart enough to look at it, who's been in business, been in government, and go, okay, I see what I did the last time. You're not getting away with that. Yes, we're cutting your budget, but we're also going to tell you, you don't get to hire 58 people, that are not doing. You can't have 10 people doing a fax machine at the SBA anymore. I'm sorry. It just doesn't work.
Will they live?
Oh, yeah. And then I think on the economy here in the state, listen, we've missed out on the boat because we've had 2 senators for the last 32 years that talk the same, they think the same, and they vote the same. And it's always against our interests.
And they do nothing the same.
No. Oh, my gosh. They don't do it. We've lost. Think of what we lost. We used to be the arsenal of democracy. We don't have that. Guess what? There's ships that should be built for the United States Navy. They're talking about building more ships. They need a whole bunch of ships under 700 feet. Guess what we used to do here in Michigan?
Oh, yes.
We used to build ships under 700 feet, but 700 feet in length.
Right.
We're going to get back into that business. When you talk about the dome, the Golden Dome, the president, notice he listed all the places, and Michigan wasn't one of them, but he listed Indiana. My argument is we got to get that back.
Yes.
And we're going to make sure that we have the ability to be a part of the arsenal of democracy.
If the ships came back, that would be Flint. That would be all those places that tanked because of the stuff.
Completely.
We have a question. We have our show is getting all over the place. One of our
and I have five more things, but we'll get to
Look at our Wayne County guy here says he wants to know, was hoping that you can they feel like they were excluded by Republicans in the Arab American area. You have anything you can say to that? They're urging Republican leaders not to allow the Democrats to exploit them as they have. They did turn the city of Dearborn red, according to our good friend here in Wayne County.
Yeah.
So
well, and listen, I won Dearborn by 2,600 votes.
Okay, well then there you are.
And we are going to continue to build our Muslim coalition. We're going to be one of the top of the ticket folks in the state. Going to be really important. We've already started that. We've started our conversations. We're going to build out our Muslim coalition and our broader Arab coalition as well. And we've done that with the Indian community, the Chaldean community. We should leave no community untouched by conservative values.
Good.
And when I go to Muslim communities, guess what? They care about their children's education. They care about taxes. They care about business.
What do they think about boys and girls' bathrooms?
Oh boy! If you want to change the conversation, you start with that. That would be great. I love it. Seriously, they are more aligned with Republicans than we think. Obviously, the Israel issue is something that we're all going to work through, but not for me. I'm very pro-Israel, but they understand it. And we can be helpful in other ways, but they're so entrepreneurial in the Muslim community. They are so concerned about their families and so concerned about the business environment. Lower taxes, they love it. Smaller government, they love it. getting an education where they don't have to worry about boys in their girls' locker room. Trust me, they love it, which is why I think this change is starting to happen and they're starting to come back. You know, at one time they were voting Republican, and I think we're gaining more and more. But we do have to show up, really important.
Yep.
We have to show up. We have to have those conversations. I saw I think it was Hussein. I think if I read that.
Yep.
Love to talk to you about it, and love to get you involved in helping us bring Muslims to the table. I think this is going to be a very big year for us. And by the way, 2 open seats at the same time never happen. 2 open seats at the same time, a governor's race and a Senate race.
Yes.
We've never done that. Why this is so important. I do believe that people say, oh, it's a midterm. People won't come out and vote. I don't believe that.
I don't either.
People are ready to get a pound of flesh out of what just happened to them for the last 8 years.
Yes.
Our business climate is terrible. Our auto insurance is high. Our schools are terrible. Oh, and by the way, did not fix the damn roads.
No.
And so think of all that. We're going to get people fired up to show up and vote. And this is why I'm excited about the election part. Can I talk about the election part?
You can talk about whatever you want to talk about.
That.
All 5 of those things you were going to talk about.
Okay, good. Well, do we have 2 hours?
We do. We do.
Well, people are falling asleep. I don't want you to drive off the road if you're listening to this as a podcast. One of the things that we did, we talked about earlier about that ground game that saved us when we were getting outspent 5-1. And remember, a big bloody primary got us 70% of our money came in after the primary, which that's a terrible way to win. Late primaries kill us as Republicans, by the way. Democrats love it, except for this time the Democrats have their own primary, which is a whole nother topic. I tear up with joy at night thinking of this. We just found out that we're going to have an outside group that was in Ohio and in Pennsylvania that's going to come in and help build up the ground game here for our election. Why is that important? If we got so many Republican votes, this is crazy. Rogers for Senate got more Republican votes than any other statewide Michigan candidate in history by about 300,000 votes. So what we have to do is drive out 85% of people who already voted for us, and that's 51%. And that's 51% in the governor's race too, the way the math works.
Yes.
And so if you think about it, a huge ground game, we get our base excited, we get all you excited. I don't care if you say I'm going to take 5 doors or 10 doors or 20 doors. That matters, and it helps Deb and her team. And by the way, some people get out there and go, I don't like it. By the time they're done, they're go, give me more doors.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're talking to people about things that you know are going to be important.
I think what they don't like is the unknown. They don't know what to do. Therefore, they don't know what to do. So they don't know how to react. They don't know. They're so nervous and choked up because they're unaware. But once they understand it, we give them some training on what how to open that conversation up. You're right. After that, they just enjoy it, especially if they're going with a friend. We're trying to do a buddy system, moving
like
forward.
That. Yeah. And you know what? Maybe that first few doors, having a buddy system is good, because it's intimidating. If you say it's not intimidating, they're not being honest with you.
Right.
That first one is a little intimidating.
It is.
The person may or may not like you. They may slam the door. They may say something nasty about you. And that was just in my family to me. I don't know. Oh, come on, people. That's fine. You're not allowed to have humor on this.
Yes, you are. Go ahead. Okay. I was waiting for it. I'm just waiting for it.
You were just waiting for it to be funny, she said.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Anyway,
sorry, I was thinking about 2 different things at the same time. I had to come back to that. It was funny when I got there.
Yeah, exactly. So the important thing about that is to have people who can walk you through it. And once you get going and you understand and you're talking about things that you believe in, even people when they're rude, sometimes you'd be surprised. Those people can come back.
They can.
They really can come back. And just having that dialogue and that connection is so important. So think of this. We're going to have all of that ground game activity. And by the way, that's based on people who are delegates, people who care enough to show up. They might not even say I'm a Republican, but I'll come and walk doors because I'm so worried about my daughter's school or fill in the blank or the future of our state. All of that matters. And and if you think about it, what are Democrats saying at the door? They say, oh, we don't, whatever. Republicans are terrible. They want to take away your Medicare and all that nonsense, which is all nonsense. It's absolutely nonsense. So we actually are running on things that we can do: jobs, the economy, education, national security, smaller, more effective government. We're going to get rid of the waste, corruption, fraud, and abuse. And by the way, that is a 5-year project. That is not a 2-year project. That's why Donald Trump needs some help, and that's why I'm running.
Awesome. Well, nobody else is in the race yet, right?
No, I'm in.
No, I'm not hearing anything either. I'm hearing maybe, if, possibly, whatever.
Well, let me just say this about that. Listen,
Okay.
there's a reason that, and it's not because I'd like to say it's because I'm just the greatest guy ever, and of course they would want to support me.
Sure.
Yeah, if politics only worked that way.
Oh my God.
If you look at the numbers that we generated last year, and we were so wildly outspent by the Democrats. Think about what we were able to do with very little money, and we did it through people power. Most people don't realize that there's a lot of people power involved in this thing.
Agreed.
And if you look back at it and you want to win a tough midterm race, you go with the guy that got the most votes ever for a Republican statewide. Think of that.
Okay.
Most ever. I came closer to Trump votes than any other competitive Senate seat in the country, including the 3 that won: Pennsylvania, Ohio, Montana, right? So we didn't have a Trump problem. It was those 100,000 voters that walked in and voted and left.
Right.
We just didn't get enough of them to stay and vote down the ticket. And that's on all of us. It's,
right.
Yes, it's on me, but it's also on all of us because we all missed that vote. And so when you look at the math of how you do something really hard, you go with the numbers, and the numbers say we are in the best position to win this Senate seat in 32 years. Why we would walk away from this, I don't know.
No, and I'm glad you stepped up, and I'm glad that you're you're getting momentum. Like I said, I'm hearing the maybe, if, possibly, whatever, but I guess the strongest, if there is a strongest if or strongest possible, it would be the congressman on the west side of the state. And frankly, I understand what primaries are, and that's just fine. I respect them, but stay in your stinking congressional seat and do not give it up. And I'm frustrated. I mean, I understand John James wants to be back home with his kids and he's running for governor, but gosh almighty, we had to fight for that seat, and now it's up for grabs again, and who knows what's going to happen.
And we only have 2 years to get this
I know,
done.
I know.
It's the president. If we don't keep the House, this is what the president knows: subpoenas, stalling, no votes, impeachment.
That's right.
Why would we let this happen? I argue if you're in Congress now, you have a responsibility for the people who sent you there to stay there and help finish the mission. Versus this other thing, by the way, listen, we're going to win either way. I think the nearest opponent was almost 50 points down from us in a primary. Let's be real. We have to focus on the Democrats.
Yes.
The Democrats for years have been really good about focusing on us and not themselves. They have a problem right now. Think if we put all our effort, our energy into sending somebody back that's going to do just about everything you want.
Right.
I think everything you want, but okay, just about everything you want. Trump wants it to happen. We got endorsed by the Senate Majority Leader. And by the way, the National Republican Senate Committee said it's got to be you, not because of who I am, it's because of the numbers, and also because who I am.
Of course,
because I sent a nice note.
You're kind of that kind of guy. No, and it's funny because my phone blows up with all these names. Oh, look, it's John Kennedy saying Mike Rogers has been endorsed by me. Okay, look Jay, John Kennedy texted me. So I'm thinking, wow, you've really been working over there.
We're going to have some big news coming. You're going to love this. We are going to have some big news on Rogers chairs and co-chairs and captains.
Oh, yeah?
We've never been this far ahead this early. And I see my staff in there giving me the don't say it. So I won't say it. It's coming soon.
Shut the door, Spencer. I don't want him to look at the staff right now.
Where
is there a better place to say it?
I can't tell you how excited I am about this announcement coming up. I haven't seen it in 20 years that we've been this early with this many people who are going to get out there and help recruit people to be a part of this massive win for us.
All right.
Pretty excited. And so, listen, momentum is momentum. Why we don't stand in front of momentum. Let's get this done. Let's get this race over with by the way, it is going to be a grind from today until November.
Right.
Let's use this grind to build Republican teams, to get people fired up, to get them to vote up and down the ticket, a governor, a U.S. senator. We're going to get the House and the Senate, State House, State Senate. And we're going to finally get this to be a place where we don't want to leave, and we don't want our kids to leave. More important.
You know, I remember waking up on the day after election day last year, and I remember looking over Jay and saying, did I dream that this nightmare federally is over? Did I dream that happened? And sitting out, we had a big watch party here, and there's a whole bunch of us here watching his inauguration speeches. And as he was saying he was going to do this and saying he was going to do this, and I just kept thinking, am I here? Is this really happening? And all I keep thinking of is November of 2026. Waking up and feeling that about Michigan again, because I haven't felt that way about our state in years. It was a semi-relief last year to at least know that the House was going to stop the madness from growing. They may not be able to get a lot passed, but they would at least stop them from passing more stupidity. So, you know, just the thought of having all that you just described next November is so exciting, and it's fired me up. It's fired up my base. It's fired up our whole party. You know, working to help President Trump and help we have good gubernatorial candidates, and I don't think they're all listed yet. I think we got some more coming, so we'll have to see how that goes. But
last bit of good news.
Sure, go ahead.
Whoever that Republican is, I know this because I came out of. Everybody comes out of a primary a little battered, a little broken, a little bruised,
right,
and broke.
Yeah.
Which is a problem.
Yeah.
We'll be able to take that gubernatorial candidate and plug it into this massive ground game.
Okay.
So that we are all rowing in the same direction. Good luck finding that ever in the last 20 years.
No.
This is the time. We are going to do this together. We are going to win together.
Good.
And we're going to bring the state back together.
And
so
on
get
that,
excited.
That is on that note, I am excited. Thanks again, Mike, for coming out. I know you're
doing a great job.
Your staff over there is giving us a little dirty look.
Is that the stink eye? You're gonna better you get the stink eye than I get the stink eye. It's Deb's fault. I didn't do that.
I know it's my fault, Lee. I'm sorry. Can't ground them. All right. We'll be right back. We've got the youth. We got our local youth chair, and we got our state youth chair, vice chair. Sorry.
Great guys. Stay for this. They're fantastic.
They're going to talk about what you can do and how we're getting youth involved. So stick around, and we'll be right back.
Ready to make your real estate dreams a reality? Meet Lisa R., your trusted expert in Livingston County. With 25 years in the real estate marketplace, she offers a seamless, stress-free experience. As a Real Estate One agent, Lisa has access to a network of over 2,000 agents and a one-stop shop for mortgage, title, and insurance services. Call Lisa R. at 734-260-7277 or visit her at Real Estate One in Brighton. Let her help you find your dream home or sell your property with confidence.
The Exalted Christ Ministry offers resources to help you understand historic Christianity. Visit theexaltedchrist.com for articles, podcasts, and a video series exploring scripture and key historical topics. Get free resources today at www.theexaltedchrist.com.
This whole town could be red by the end of the day.
Why should you join the Livingston County Republican Party?
Why, you ask?
Yeah, why?
Why join?
The Republican Party is the party of common sense.
Common sense.
Republicans support the Constitution.
Republicans protect your rights.
We fight to keep your children safe.
We fight to keep boys and men out of girls and women's sports.
We fight to keep boys out of girls' restrooms.
We fight for you.
What does the Republican Party do?
We help Republican candidates get elected.
Why is it important to elect Republicans?
Why is that important?
Why? Tell me, why is that important?
Livingston County is one of the safest counties in Michigan.
Livingston County has one of the lowest crime rates in the state of Michigan.
Livingston County has the lowest tax millage rate of all 83 counties.
Republicans work to balance the budget.
Republican legislators vote against raising your taxes.
Republican elected officials believe in transparency.
Republican clerks run elections with integrity.
Republican trustees protect your rights. Republicans support our veterans.
Who can join?
If you are conservative, we want you in our party.
All conservatives are welcome at our table.
Join our activities.
Join the fun.
Become a member.
Join us now.
Hi, I'm Deb Drick, chair of Livingston County Republican Party. Our conservative message has been very well received in Livingston County, and I'm so happy to share with you that people are stepping up right and left to help. The only thing's missing is you. Come join our mission. Come join our fun. Go to livingstonrepublicans.com and click join. You'll be glad you did. Welcome back. And with me is Krish Mathrani, correct?
Perfect.
I did it. And Spencer Good, who Krish is the vice chair for MRP Youth. And then we have Spencer Good, who is our local people here know is our youth vice chair. Our youth vice chair. I think they call themselves Next Gen Republicans now. I think that's the new term. Yeah. So sorry, I'm old. I get stuck in my ways. So welcome to both of you. We had a great conversation. I know you got to take some selfies with Mike Rogers, which is great. And you got to listen in on that. It's pretty impressive stuff that, that he had to share. Correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. So first of all, let me ask you this, Krish, what's going on at the state as it pertains to youth? I think what's, the youth movement is and how we get youth involved and the next gen, I guess, tell us what your goals are and what's going on and what's going to go on.
So absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me. I was thrilled to be a part of this, and I look forward to sharing what we've been doing since the past few months since I was elected. One of the things that I ran on was transparency and making sure that our delegates and just the GOP base in general knows that we are actively working to recruit. That has been our biggest and most important objective with the youth. And that's why I'm so thankful to Spencer and what all he's doing in Livingston County. And we have so many counties where we have such amazing youth in, whether it's Livingston or Oakland or even in Grand Rapids, and we want to replicate what we're doing at the county level and take it to the state level. So we have a bunch of different objectives. The number one thing with the youth is obviously social media. The social media is the best way to get our messaging to the youth, and that's the only way we can combat it and combat the left-wing narrative that we see in the media. So I've been very, very strong with adding our views and messaging to Instagram and Facebook and X and Twitter and and TikTok. And recently we started something called Students for Trump Michigan. And in the first month, we had over 6,000 followers.
Wow. Great.
So that is the type of thing we're doing. In my personal page on Instagram, where I share all the things we're working on, when I share, the different types of issues that young people really want to address, I have over 10,000 followers. So these are the types of things, every single vote counts. The first race that I ran for someone in city council in a blue seat we flipped that seat by 42 votes. So every single vote counts.
It does.
And finding the issues that we can use to address to get young people out there is the crucial thing, and we can do that using social media. I don't want to, get too much into it, but there's a plenty of other different things that we're working on, whether it is, supporting people like Spencer at the county level and building county youth programs, or doing things like having an internship program where we're recruiting at the high school level, which is often ignored because they want the volunteer credits and the internship credits. And we're able to give them that opportunity because the GOP needs more young people involved.
So tell me about the internships. Like, what kind of internships are we talking about?
So young people, see, when you go to a political science class, they'll teach you everything except how politics actually works. I'm a poli-sci major, so I can speak on this firsthand.
I've had many of you work for me in the legislature. I get it.
Absolutely. So what we're doing right now is training young people on how the political system works.
Okay.
Young people don't know what a precinct delegate is. I can tell you that, even I did, and my parents still don't know. They saw me at the election win, but they still don't fully understand the concept. So what we're doing is we're making sure that young people know about all the processes that are in the party and outside of the party, training them on how to, run campaigns, what goes into running campaigns and all of that, and going to the high schools and getting these people on board. And we're getting them prepared for 2026. Once, even before the primary, but mainly after the primary, we're going to have an army of young people who we send to the campaigns, because I can tell you for certain, nobody knocks doors like young people.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, and we can, have fun with it, blast music, and make it a good time, and we are very productive. And it is very, very true that when people open the door, they want to see young people. They're more attentive, they're more interested, and that is how we win every single vote.
Well, and the other thing is too, if the young person that's talking is articulate, they know what they're talking about, they're not just mouthing somebody else's word, they understand, they can answer a question, that's impressive.
And if they believe in the candidate.
Yes, and that's impressive. And to the person listening, it's like, wow, and it will really make an impression on the voters. So that's great. That's good to know. So,
and then at the national level, not just internships, a big thing is the national level. So me and Dr. Rob Steele, who is our RNC committee man from Michigan, have a great relationship. And I asked him, we're doing all this stuff at the state level. A lot of it works, a lot of it doesn't. But why is every state doing trial and error? Why don't we take the things that actually work and take them to the national level? So we're currently working with him and Chairman Michael Watley, and we're building some sort of youth advisory council in which Michigan will take the lead in and applying all our strategies and tactics to the national level, so we can go to states like Michigan, where we have a governor and a Senate race open, and win those seats by using and encouraging the youth and getting them out the door. So that is the type of thing we're doing at the national level. And I'm very thankful to Dr. Rob Steele for working with me on this. And in the next few weeks, hopefully we'll have something concrete. But these are the types of things, not just at the high school level, not just at the college level, but at the national level, we are going to win these elections by using the youth. And we're going to have Michigan that is leading the charge, and we'll see the results happen in Michigan.
Oh, that's good. That's terrific. I think that's on a lot of Republicans' mind is it's, as we're all working, but we're working and working. I've been working with the same people now for many years, and we're getting older. And we look behind us and think, wow, there's not a lot of youth coming up. And so every time, I got Tyler over here and, Spencer to my right, and it's encouraging to see, some coming up, but they're not going to replace that big gap once so I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, what I hear you saying is there's a need for the next gen.
Yes,
which is a great segue to talk about what we're doing here in Livingston County.
Yes.
For those who I haven't met, my name is Spencer Good. I have the privilege of serving as the youth vice chair of the Livingston County Republican Party. And under my leadership, with guidance from Deb and the rest of our officers and executive committee members, as well as Krish at the state level, we are excited to announce the Livingston County Republican Party Next Gen program, which is our official youth chapter. We're very excited for this Thursday, June 12th, because we are hosting our first event, which is a family euchre night tournament. And I know many of you are planning on coming, but for those who haven't heard, I'd love to share some details.
Sure.
So it'll be at the LCRP Victory Center on M36 in Whitmore Lake. It'll start at 5:30. Please come, enjoy some hors d'oeuvres and light refreshments. Now, I would recommend that everyone eat dinner still. I know that I'm the type to snack, but find myself hungry even after that. So eat dinner, but come get some refreshments. And then at 6 o'clock, we're going to be playing euchre. Now, if you don't know how to play euchre, that's okay. You might not be a real Michigander. That's not for me to decide, but we'll have some other games as well. So don't let that be the reason you stay at home. And it's a great chance to meet your neighbor, meet fellow Republicans, to enjoy fellowship. And also, we have some fantastic prizes at stake. So the first, second, and third place teams will walk home with some patriotic themed prizes. And I just want to take an opportunity right now to acknowledge our sponsors. We've had just an outpouring of support across the county from candidates, from business owners, from passionate precinct delegates, and their financial support is going to help me and help us launch LCRP Next Gen. So to Commissioner Frank Sample, to Sheriff Mike Murphy, soon to be Senator Mike Murphy, perhaps, to Brian Ignatowski, who is running for the 48th House District, State Representative Ann Bullen, Howell Township Trustee Tim Bull, Under Sheriff Jason Pless, County Commission Chairman Jay Drick. That's a mouthful. Lots of C's in there.
Yes, it is.
Our lovely precinct delegate captains, Sharon, Connie, and Marcia.
Right.
The Stantons, who we can't say enough good things about. Mike
Team
and
Stanton
Sharon.
is what I call them.
I'm sure you're watching
yes.
right now. Thank you for what you do for our county party. And then American H2O, also owned by Brian Ignatowski.
Right.
Thank you from the entire Livingston County Republican Party for supporting this event financially. I hope that everyone who is watching this or who will watch this will consider coming. We've got details on our website. We have details on Facebook. Like I said, June 12th here at the Victory Center. That's this Thursday. Come at 5:30, or if you can't make it then at 6 o'clock to play some euchre, meet your Republican neighbor. And I hope that this will be one foot forward in the right direction to bring young people and young families to our local county party.
If I remember correctly, you're inviting anyone 14 or over to come and play, and I guess they get to play for free, correct?
Yes, thanks for the reminder, Deb. So if your age is 14 to 18, not only do we want you to come play, but we want you to come play for free. And like I said, we've got some awesome prizes. So for absolutely no cost, if you're a teenager, you can come play euchre with us. And for everyone else, we're asking for a donation of $5 per player, $10 a team. That money goes straight back to the Livingston County Republican Party to make sure that we preserve our conservative values here in Livingston County and across the state, with so much on the line in 2026.
And that goes toward, that's going to be a line item for the youth group.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Next Gen group. Yes.
That'll be specifically for LCRP Next Gen, so
yes.
that we can sustain these events into perpetuity, because we want to keep winning elections.
Now, what happens, Spencer, if someone doesn't have a partner? Does that mean they shouldn't come?
No, it means they should still come, and we will pair you up with one. Don't let that be the reason.
Yeah, someone's got to come and play with Jay, because I'm terrible at euchre, and so there's other things I'm good at, not euchre.
Yes.
So someone could be Jay's partner, and
there's one more reason
Jay's
to
pretty
come.
good at euchre. That's the reason. Okay.
Well, yes, if you want to be partners with the county commission chairman.
Yeah. So, all right. Yeah. So yes, we won't curb your conversation. So the question then I have to ask you then, Spencer, is, and I guess Krish, what's coming to what kind of youth encouragement or youth activities are you doing in Livingston County right now? Or what is it what's on the agenda for, the euchre is bringing in, some awareness, bringing in some money. So what kind of events or what kind of recruitment or what kind of activities have you got kind of in the hopper here?
Well, I've always been a person who likes to meet people where they're at. And to be honest, we're figuring that out. I think it looks different county to county, and Krish can speak to that. But there is a playbook that's being developed at the state level that we look to in Livingston County. And Krish, I know that in other counties with successful Next Gen programs, like Oakland, for example, social gatherings have been really successful.
So yeah, I can speak to that actually. So Michigan's a huge state. I found that out when I was running for office. So, every county, every city, every district has something different. The kids want, it's not the kids, but
That's right. The next gen.
The next gen
Yeah.
wants something different. For example, in Oakland County, we've been doing happy hours. I'm 18, so I'm not a big part of that, but
Okay.
happy hours have been so successful because, people can, first of all, drink, they can have fun, and they can meet more
You don't have
conservative
to drink to have
people.
fun, though.
Fair. But you can meet so many young like-minded individuals, and it's not a political event. Our main focus right now has been, don't make the events fully political. We can bring politics into it, but our biggest issue with the youth has been retainment. We need to retain the young people. How do you retain them? You bring them in with something fun. So what we did in Oakland County a couple of years ago, thanks to the youth chair Tyler Sonkrant, is we started the Oakland County GOP Next Gen. That was the first ever Next Gen, started 4 years ago. That was a pilot program.
Sure.
Okay. The first thing we did with that was started fundraising. And we were able to raise almost $15,000, which we used for youth-based events. Okay. That was a pilot program, and then after that, we did our first event, which was a summer party. There's a place, I believe it's called the Oakland Yard, in which they have a outdoor water slide, they have a barbecue, they have volleyball courts, all that type of stuff, and that brought in an influx of young people who don't even know anything about politics. Once we got them there, we had a few candidates speak. We had a few topics that we discussed. But we also had a lot of fun. We had an open bar. We had people playing volleyball, going down the slip and slide. All of that combined. Now we have a list of people who are actively going to come. And this is our third year hosting this event. And it's been lucrative for the party. It's been a lot of fun. And we've met so many new people that come every year and bring their friends and bring their friends. And it becomes, a thing. And every year we do this. And then the next one's this July 11th. And it is fantastic. And that is what we need to do at the statewide level. That is why I started Next Gen, because the pilot program was so successful. Now, if we establish that in every single county, giving county youth chairs like Spencer the autonomy to do what they need, by also having someone like me at the statewide level, giving them the resources they need, giving them the funding, all that type of stuff. That's what makes these events successful. And having autonomy, but also having support is what we need to do, and that is why I started this Next Gen program.
So the Next Gen program, if I'm understanding this right, is probably more college age, correct?
So for me,
happy hours aren't going to be high school kids.
So depending on the event, but for me, the youth is 16 to 40, because we want people who are registered to vote. Obviously, in Michigan, you can register to vote at 16 and a half, I believe.
Okay.
And then to 40. Obviously, we're not going to stop anyone who wants to come, but that is the youth we want to focus on. Anyone younger than that, they're not going to be going for the
agreed
like the internships and college credit.
Sure.
They don't have a driver's license, which already stops them from going to half these things, and they don't know what they want to do with their life. We can obviously I support Turning Point USA for the high school level, educating students on issues, having a club to go to, but our main focus is, at the end of the day, the main focus for me as a youth chair is to win elections.
I get it.
And we win elections by training the upcoming generation of voters, telling them about issues, getting them connected with campaigns and candidates, and then making sure that they are retained within our party. And the best way to do that is make them precinct delegates.
Okay, so 16. So wait, let me focus. Let me get. I want my question answered here. So when you go to these happy hours, okay, so there's no 16-year-olds there. We're talking about probably college kids and up. You're saying up to 40.
18 to 40. That's the year.
Really? Okay.
Well, here's what I'll say about that. I'm sure there's viewers at home right now thinking, youth. I've never thought of a 40-year-old as a youthful person. Okay, but if we think about the LCRP, the people who are coming consistently are actually over 40. So we're missing out on that demographic.
Absolutely.
As well.
So that's why I said 40, is because if you look at the average, I've campaigned across the state. I've run statewide campaigns. all these events, the average age is always 60 plus. Now, to a 30 or 40-year-old who goes to these events,
Sure.
they're, it's not appealing to them.
They can actually relate better to a 20-year-old than a 60-year-old.
Yeah. So that is why we're focusing on that demographic. And also, if you notice, that demographic does not vote as much as they should. Voter turnout in Michigan has
Agreed.
always been a crucial thing. We're doing well with the youth, but the middle-aged people that don't think that the elections are important enough. Imagine if we add a fun aspect to voting and being involved in politics, like axe throwing, happy hours, all these types of things. That is how we engage the youth.
Lisa,
yes. You said it, not me.
Yeah.
Lisa, you're wise and experienced, and the young people have a lot to gain from you.
Boy, are we.
And that's a lesson in political messaging.
Yes.
Certainly, we'll be interested to see here in Livingston County, of that 16 to 40-year-old age range, what side do we see more of? Do we see more high school age students? And I'm inclined to believe we will, given how involved, generally speaking, high schoolers are in the county, be it athletics, be it a program like 4-H or FFA.
Right.
I think those are good places for us to reach students. So, for
Mission
example,
where the best are, as my father used to say.
The Fowlerville Fair, we'll be there. Food Truck Fridays, we're going to be there.
Yeah.
These are places where families are, where high schoolers are. But Chris makes a good point. My friend Brian Ignatowski likes to joke that before I was involved in LCRP, he was the young guy.
That's right.
And hopefully,
I'm 18, so look at me.
Yeah, hopefully, if Brian sees this, he won't be mad that he's almost double my age. But point being is, we do need to, reach both high school age students, so 14 to 18.
Yes.
And really probably closer to 16, the high schoolers that can vote in the next election, but then also 20 and 30-year-olds.
So, I don't want to get too much into this, but I've been doing youth outreach a lot, and what I've noticed is that the 14 to 16-year-olds, they're, honestly 14 to almost 17-year-olds, what they're looking for right now is internships and volunteer credits, but they are looking for it specific to the field they're going into. And I can tell you, in my school, I was the only student that's interested in politics. I was the only, I'm the only poli-sci major that's gotten out of my high school. I'm sure there's a few others, but, young people, you're more likely that they're liberals. So it's hard to get them involved and engaged. That is why we're doing events like axe throwing and all these different things that are not only going to get the poli-sci students out and the, politically involved students out, but also engineers and doctors and all these different, people who want to go into all these fields, because they're not just politics, they're also going to have fun.
I will say this, politics, and more specifically policy, touches every part of our life.
Absolutely.
There's no vocation that isn't impacted by policy. And so I do think that is how we reach students who, for example, want to become doctors or farmers or engineers. And for me personally, my political involvement started in high school. I believe I was a high school junior. I took the state required government course. I happened to be the only conservative in my high school government class. And so that made me more well-rounded and nimble in debate. But I think with age comes a heightened interest in politics. Certainly when you're, whether you're 18 like Chris, I'm in my mid-20s, as you graduate from college and you look for a job, or you want to enter in the home market, start paying taxes, for example. Obviously, as conservatives, one of our fundamental beliefs is that high taxes hurts everyone. And so as these real life experiences come under your tool belt, so to speak, that's when I think politics become important to everyone. And so using that as a way to bring people in, like I said, meeting them where they're at. And I think that's going to come with some trial and error, as Chris said. County to county, it's going to look different. And so in Livingston, we want to hear what you think. And I've said it at our monthly meetings, and I'll say it here as well. I can't do this alone, and Chris can't do it alone. We need you, the precinct delegates, the grassroots folks, to let us know where you think we're going to have the most impact. If it's at maybe the Fowlerville Fair every year, where there's dozens and dozens of high schoolers competing in 4-H competitions and coming for the carnival rides, or maybe it's other extracurriculars. You know this community just as well as, say, Deb or I do, and so we want to empower you to help us reach the next gen. You play a huge role in it.
So I just want to segue real quick on that is, one of the things that I committed to while running is fundraising. We can have all these different ideas, but without the proper funding and resources, we can't get anything done. And thanks to the leadership of Chairman Runstead and having, all the other team members, I was able to get my own WinRed link, which is a donation site in which the money that is donated to that will go directly to helping the youth get involved.
Nice.
And I've been trying to fundraise across the state. I've gotten, in the works, I have a lot of major donations that people have committed to. And as delegates, I know that every candidate's always asking for money, and especially in election
What's
season.
the address they can go?
For the donation?
Yeah.
It's if you go on the MIGOP website, it should be there. And I can send the link out in the comments section once we're done with this. But it is a WinRed link that's specifically sent
If you
to
tell
the
us
youth.
now, we'll put it right on the screen.
I
for
don't know
everybody.
the
Oh, you don't know?
exact-
Okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
all right.
But my point being that that money will be directly used to help the youth, especially because you have the Mackinac Conference coming up in September, and we want a bunch of youth there. And Mackinac, the Grand Hotel is pretty dang expensive.
Yes, it is.
So all this money, you'll see it being transparent. I've been trying to be the most transparent I can with the things we're working on, and I've planned to send out a few more emails in the next few weeks regarding the updates since the past few weeks, or past few months that we've worked on. So donations is the biggest thing, because we can have a bunch of ideas, a bunch of plans, but without having the proper funding, it's very difficult. And one of the big things with that is, if you look at the 2024 cycle, Michigan was the #1 state. Charlie Kirk did not come to Michigan a single time during the election cycle. After the election cycle, 2 months after I won my election, Charlie Kirk came to Michigan State University.
Go Green.
And we go white.
Go white. Yeah.
And we had over 4,000 people show up to support him, and only 20 protesters. Now imagine what we could have done before the election to help President Trump. We saw a huge shift in East Lansing towards President Trump, but that's the type of events we need to host. But hosting these events costs a lot of money.
Yes, it does.
So,
in Livingston County, I've been involved with the party for 100 years. Considering you're 18, I would have to say it was prior to your birth. So, but I will say that once upon a time, Howell, Livingston County had a great youth program. It was primarily high schoolers, and the high schoolers, they always, we always had sponsors for them at the dinners, and so they could come to the Lincoln Day, they could come to the Reagan Day, they could come to the events, and they had we had time with legislators, spend time with them, go to their offices, answer questions, watch what they do, shadow Republican commissioners, shadow Republicans here, shadow the party. And it was a really, really well run, and it was for years. As a matter of fact, we got former state rep Chris Ward from the youth, the young Republicans, as they used to call them. Nothing cool like Next Gen, but young Republicans. So it was high schools, and that's where they started. I'm listening to all this stuff, and I'm thinking, I love that it's broadened. I just, I guess I have a hard time, even though I'm way older, I have a hard time grasping. I understand that up to 40, they're not really involved. And I understand that. I just have a hard time putting them together with 16, 17, 18-year-olds or 19-year-olds and seeing that mesh. Do you have like separate events for them?
No.
It works.
It works.
Think it works. Okay.
It does work. I've seen it. I mean, happy hours, you'll see people who are 18 and 40 and just having fun, because 40-year-olds honestly don't like to be called 40-year-olds. They still consider themselves.
Neither do 60-year-olds, trust me.
Yeah, every 40-year-old wants to be 25, and every 25-year-old wants to be 40.
So real quick, I just want to say, if you look at the Young Republicans, the official Young Republicans consider that the official number is 18 to 39. Okay, that's Young Republicans. That's people who got out of college, still want to be involved in the community, involved in the party, make some friends. That's what the Young Republicans are. But you also have to realize that our strategy when it comes to 16-year-olds to compare to the college, compared to the Young Republicans, which is 18 to 40, has to be different.
Okay.
18 to 40-year-olds.
Good. I'm glad you're saying that. All right.
18 to 40-year-olds, the events will be different. Obviously, everyone's welcome. You know,
Sure.
Our summer party, we have 40-year-olds. We did speed dating at our last event. So we had, 20, 30, 40-year-olds.
I don't know if I want to hear this.
You'd have to make sure everybody's 18, otherwise you'd have a heck of a legal challenge. on your
No,
hands.
but it was fantastic. It was a lot of fun, and they enjoyed it. Okay. 16-year-olds. If you look at Kalamazoo Young Republicans with James Asher, he did an event with Eric Nesbitt, who's running for governor. We had 16-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds who all showed up, and they filled the room, and it was a fantastic event.
Okay. All
So
right.
obviously not every event.
I'm having a hard time wrapping I'm not doubting you. It's
So
not my
here's a
experience. So
unique
I have to wrap my head around it, and once I see it, I'll probably feel better about it.
A
But
unique challenge that we're facing these days is access to young people. And it's not an excuse. Legitimately, it's difficult to get into a high school now to present.
So middle schools is very, very difficult.
Oh, yeah.
So in high schools, you need a conservative teacher to host a conservative club.
At Heartland High School, there's not one.
No.
And
being
that's
in
a
Troy,
challenge.
I can know in Oakland County, there's probably 3 out of the entire Oakland County. There's probably 3 teachers who are willing to say they're conservative.
And as red as Livingston County is, there's not so many here either.
So that is where these other different clubs like Next Gen come into play. Is that you bring those people in and do events with them. Euchre, for example, you'll have people who are 16 who want to come, 15 who want to come, but also people who are 40 who want to play. And they're the youth. We want to get them more involved, get them more engaged. And the thing is, we can't set this many barriers because we're already struggling with having people there. Right? It's not like we have packed rooms and we don't have space for people to come. And I know Spencer hosting this event. I'm sure that's a concern for you. Having enough RSVPs, having enough people who show up. So we need to keep our borders open. Have people who are 40-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 15-year-olds.
I'm glad it's working. I said, it's just never something I've experienced, but I'm not doubting you. I'm trying to wrap my brain. I'm not next gen, honey. I'm last gen.
Yeah, but that's why you leave it to Chris and I to figure it out, because we know what our peers think.
Well, here's something that I have learned in my lifetime. There's new and fresh ideas, which are absolutely mandatory, but there's also institutional knowledge, and you cannot have one without the other. They have to work together. So I'm not dissing you. I'm just trying to get with you. I'm trying to get there.
Well, it's not going to be perfect. Seldom are things. We're going to try and we're going to refine.
Sure.
And if we find out that
I think your euchre is going to be fantastic. Everybody's looking forward to it. I have not heard this.
So that's where the whole, we spent 2 years with the Oakland County GOP Next Gen as a pilot program. And that's where we saw what works and what doesn't.
So how many people belong to this Next Gen in Oakland County, would you say?
So in Oakland County, I'd say 40 to 50.
Nice. Good job.
That's 40 to 50 young people that can come out and knock doors.
So that's like 16 to 40. Okay, good.
Yeah. Obviously, it's a struggle to get 16-year-olds out there. They don't drive. They need parents to drop them off, pick them up, all that type of stuff. But that's why, our goal, my goal, as my background being a political consultant, as someone who wants to win at the end of the day, is target voters, get them engaged, and get them to vote for our candidates. The people who vote and the people who get engaged are the 16 to the 40-year-olds.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm glad
as a county
that
party, I'm sure you are completely covered with having people 60 plus, at your events, at your meetings, as delegates, getting involved. Our goal as Next Gen, as the youth chair of the state party, as all these different things, is to bring you more 16 to 40-year-olds, get them more involved.
We'll take them.
And hopefully get the average age and the delegates a little lower, and also make sure that we're not calling landlines when we're phone banking.
Right. No, I'm hey.
So
actually, we had a landline like 30 years longer than anybody else.
Dad, let me ask you a question, if that's okay. You've got children, you've got grandchildren.
I do.
What prevents them in your mind, or anybody with children and grandchildren, from engaging in local county politics?
Knowing about it.
Knowing about it.
In my opinion, see, and I come from a different world because than you would, Chris. You came from Oakland County, which is a mixed bag of tricks over there. You got
and
many
Troy,
boxes.
which is the
Yeah,
largest
you
state
got
in Oakland
you got a
County.
bunch of different cereals in the bowl over there. Or we have a very red county.
Yeah.
So our last program that was really successful for years, it came because we have a whole lot of Republicans in the county that would say, yeah, we want our children to understand this as well. We want our children involved in this. We don't want our children to be indoctrinated.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we want that. We want that for our kids. So we, it's up to us to get, I mean, this was, and Lisa, your kids are busy with work and babies, but I'm talking about high school kids. Our last program here that was very successful was high school. It was like 16, 17, 18-year-olds. And it really worked because they all got together. I think every other week they had a meeting and they came to all the events and everything, but it was the parents. It was all of us that said, all right, we don't want our children to get, I mean, we know what they're being told at school. We don't want that. We want them to learn, and we want them to be able to network with other conservative kids. And here it was easy because there were lots of parents and lots of kids.
So do you mind if I real quick comment on that?
You can.
So you guys live in Livingston County, which is
Right.
a pretty Republican county.
Hard Republican, yeah.
Yeah. I'm from Troy
Sure.
and Oakland County, which is not.
Right.
So we have to realize that every county will have their own strategy. Every county will have, like, I'm sure you can't do events like this that in places like the UP where, you know, everyone lives a mile away, you know? So the thing is we need to have a strategy based on the county that we're in. And that is why I created the Next Gen, because Spencer knows Livingston County better than I do. I just bought a truck. This is the first time I've driven it on a dirt road. Like, seriously, in Oakland County, we don't have that.
No,
In Troy,
you
we
don't.
don't have
Livingston
that.
County,
Wow.
Michigan, my
Yeah.
friend. Lots
So,
of dirt roads.
you know,
I grew
when
up
I
on
saw the
one.
amount of farms and fields, I was like, whoa, this is part of Michigan? Like,
Yeah.
you know?
It's
So,
the heart of Michigan.
yeah, so we need different strategies for different
Oh,
counties.
I get it. I
That
get
is
it.
why I created Next Gen, so that, again, I can give Spencer the autonomy that he needs to get things done, and I can just support him from above. And then in Oakland County, we can have different strategies. We
Sure.
can have, you know, pool parties and all these different types of things because everyone lives nearby. We can have, you know,
We have pools
impossible-
on those dirt roads too.
Yeah. Okay.
We get what those are.
No. So my point being is that we need to make sure each strategy is different.
Obviously.
You guys have young conservatives. In Oakland County, we have parents who are very liberal, but
Right.
their kids are a little more conservative. But when you say you're a conservative in Oakland County, when you wear a Trump hat in Kroger and Troy, you're gonna get
boy.
people giving you the middle finger.
Yes.
So again, rather than having these events focus on being a Republican, in some places like Grand Rapids or Troy, we have to shift the events a little to more about having fun, building a community.
Sure.
And then that's what 25 is for, 2025. 2026 is when you implement the politics
Okay.
into that, get them door knocking and all that type of stuff, and then get them more involved.
So Deb, I want to pick up on something that you mentioned.
Go ahead.
And you put forward a great call to action to all of our members who we value so much here in Livingston County. You truly are what makes winning elections year in and year out possible. And we're going to need you in 2026, but we're also going to need you to tell your children, if they're 16 or older, to come and try it out. Just to try it out. That's my ask, is that you would tell your children and your grandchildren who are ages 16 and up to come to an event like Family Euchre Night or other events that we'll be able to do. Once again, thanks to our sponsors for the Family Euchre Night. And we're going to do those all the way up until next August and next November during the election cycle.
Real quick with that, I completely agree. And how that happens is we make these events free. As college students, as high school students, they can't afford, you know, a lot of these
Yeah.
events. I don't come from a family that shoots a lot of guns. The first time I shot a gun was at a young person event where it was sponsored, so I knew what I was doing. They had sponsored trainers, so they taught me how to hold a gun and do all these different things. So that is the biggest thing. We need to make sure that we have sponsorships and donations so that people
Yeah.
can go to these events.
And just so
yeah.
you know, but here, the way we did it before, we
Yeah.
had sponsors, as I was telling you
Yeah.
earlier, they came to our dinners. We had sponsors that
Yeah.
bought their tickets.
Yeah.
They came to our events. We had sponsors that paid their
So
way.
what
So
we
we're
do-
very good about
Perfect.
that here.
That's amazing. What
Yep.
we do is we've done a couple different things, such as you can sponsor a young person's membership, in
Mhm.
which your money, the $25 or $50 that you donate, covers a student's membership for the entire year. Or you can
That's a good
sponsor
idea.
tickets for events that you donate
Sure.
an extra $25 or $50, and that goes to covering a student's ticket. So we eliminate
Right.
that barrier and bridge,
Right.
because they're already scared to come to a political event. They don't know anyone
Right.
there. They don't know what to do. By at least breaking that boundary, getting them involved and building their community.
That's a good idea. I
Yeah.
like that
And
idea.
we have a very low barrier to entry for youth membership. I
Mhm.
believe our rate is $10, but don't let that deter a young person
Mhm.
in your life from joining
Yeah.
the party.
Yeah.
I'll make sure that membership
We'll
due is
have a
Money
sponsor.
should not
Yeah.
be a
and that's why we
problem.
have sponsors for the events,
Yeah.
like Family Euchre Night. And
Yeah.
once again, to all of our sponsors, thank you. I've been
Yeah.
so encouraged by the outpouring of support, and it's going to go a long way. And I'd like to think, in the case of the candidates, back into your causes,
Yeah.
truly.
And the best thing is 2026, we have like 7 governor candidates. I'm sure they're going to be willing to help out financially, especially in Mackinac, covering hotel rooms and getting young people to support their campaigns. It should not be a problem.
No, and yeah, especially here. Now I'm looking forward to very much having some youth-oriented activities. I'm not sure what Spencer has. I think after this youth thing, that's when he'll be able to have a budget to be able to put something
Yeah.
like this. But all of us are behind Spencer. All of us are behind behind you,
Yeah.
behind your youth or your youth efforts or next gen efforts. That's going to take me a while. I'm setting my
They're
ways.
synonymous. It's all right.
I'm setting my ways. I'm old and set my ways. So, but we'll get there. And we'll whatever comes, we'll find sponsorships for. We'll make sure that everybody can attend that wants to. I'm really encouraged that our youth are getting training. I've been a master trainer for probably 30 years. So I can right here in front of everybody, God and everybody's listening, that I will tell you right now, Chris, there's nothing I can't train. If you ever want a training done for your any group of youth anywhere, I will step up and I will put the training on.
Awesome.
We do lots of trainings here and they go over very, very well. We have a candidate training coming up. We have a
Yep.
very good, very, very strong new candidate training. So if you ever want to include your youth or
Absolutely.
you ever want me to come and do one, I'm happy to do that.
And
for
speaking
you.
of new candidates, I think moving forward back to the statewide level, it's going to be really important that qualified young people run for public office at every
I was
level.
just about to-
Because when a
absolutely.
young person can see themselves in their county commissioner
Mhm.
or their city council person, and we have big races coming up in Livingston County,
Mhm.
or even at the state level, right now there is a state representative, Riley Linting from Downriver, who's younger than I am. And she's
Former
doing
youth chair.
she's
Yeah.
doing an excellent job.
Yeah.
And truly, I think that people are quick to write off youth. And I won't argue that some young people make poor decisions, and with time comes maturity and refinement. But there are other motivated and qualified young people who would love to serve as a precinct delegate or on their local city council.
If you look at it, Speaker Matt Hall used to be the youth chair
Yes,
for the state
yes.
party.
Yeah.
That's a great.
So there's no time that's too early to start, and you have plenty of people who are willing to help you out. Myself, Spencer, come talk to us. Even if you're considering it, come
Mhm.
talk to us. We'll walk you through it. There's not many hurdles and guidelines. I mean, the first campaign I ran for someone running for city council, we flipped a seat by 42 votes. And how did we do that? We got young people to knock doors. We found the issues that
Mhm.
matter to the voters. And, there's so many workarounds to a lot of the issues, whether it's financial or time or all these different things, just put your name, put your name into the rink and see how it goes, and come talk to people who have experience with all these things. And we'd be more than happy to help you out, because at the end of the day, we want you to win. The goal of this party, the goal of Deb, the goal of Spencer, the goal of myself is to make sure we elect Republicans and young people perform better than anyone else when they're running for office.
Well, and that's where I think a beautiful marriage can occur between wise, seasoned Republicans, such as the ones who show up month in, month out at the Livingston County Republican Party, and young people who are ambitious and driven, because they need a framework and they need guidance to remember what our party stands for. Unfortunately, we do see candidates who, once they are elected, whether they're at the municipal level, state level,
all
or beyond
levels,
that,
all levels,
they forget
Yep.
why they ran in the first place. And so that's where I think just to be blunt, the older generations can really be a great resource to the youth. Going back to candidates, though, I know from experience, hearing from friends and colleagues who helped State Representative Riley Linting get elected, that young people flocked downriver from all across the state to help her. She had a great reach because, just like Chris, she served.
She defeated an incumbent on top of that.
Yeah, in a
Wow,
very,
that's
very competitive
impressive.
seat. But young people showed up in droves to come knock doors for her because they believed that she was a voice for our generation. And so I think that within reason and with the right candidates, the more that we're able to put young people forward and help our youth see themselves in their elected leaders, we're going to have success in elections. All in balance. Certainly, we would be missing the mark if, say, in 2026, the state legislature was only part of Gen Z, which is the generation that Chris and I belong to. It should continue to be multi-generational. But right now, Rep. Linting is the youngest by a semi-large margin, at least in the Republican caucus. The Dems are, to their credit, unfortunately, doing a much better job at recruiting young candidates.
If you look at even the U.S. Congress, they have AOC, Maxwell Frost, so many different people that are Democrats and super young and doing super well because they have that youth, and the youth see themselves in them. But imagine if we had young people running on the Republican side. I don't think there's anyone other than Brandon Gill that is very young and fighting for the youth. So that's the type of thing that we need to do. Across, just not at the state level, but also at the federal level. And that happens when you start young, like Riley Linting. And that is why it's so important. Just put your name in the rank and have, all the youth like myself and Spencer. We will commit that. I'm sure Spencer will commit to helping out and making sure that you have the guidance and resources needed to win. So, just please come talk to us. Please talk to your friends and family and get involved. It doesn't have to be running for Congress. You can start local city councils.
I would recommend local, and to bring it full circle, that's why we have infrastructure in place, such as trainings that are offered at the local level. And the local level can be a great place to understand how government is designed and how it's supposed to function.
And it's better to learn on the small stage, because once you get to a big stage, when you make a blunder at the big stage, and that first step is a Lulu. So
well,
it's better,
people.
and really, learning, going through the election is step one. Then legislating is step two. Whether it's at a city council or whether
policy matters.
It matters, and there's things you don't understand. There's things you can't do anymore. There's things that you get elected as a school board member. It doesn't mean you get to go in and tell the teachers what to do. You have zero power. You can't even tell a custodian to pick up a tissue. You only have power when you are on the bench, and there's 3 others that agree with you. So that's the kind of stuff you have to learn, and it's much better to learn that at the small scale. And also, that's where you build up your network. And as those of you who have taken my classes, you understand the Drick election pie with all the pie slices. That's where you start to develop your pie slices. So, and on that note, I just want to let anybody here who has anybody here that's never run, we are doing I am putting on my new candidate discussion, and it's not a pressure thing. It's if you're thinking about it this year, if you're thinking about it next year, if you think about it in 5 years, come to the meeting. It's a free meeting. It's right here. It's the 19th That is a week from Thursday. And it's a week from Thursday, and it starts at 5:30 and it goes till 8:30. And it is from decide what you need to do before number one, what's the right office for you? Where should you start? What are your skills? What is your time frame? Can you do something full time, or do you have to do something, twice a month in the evenings? Let us help you kind of decide which way you ought to go. And then we'll teach you what you need to do to kind of prep your campaign.
Yeah.
So, and knowing that, you think, oh, I got 2 years to think. And no, you don't. You really, a lot of the stuff you have to be building up now. So anyway, come and you can RSVP if you're a Republican. If you're conservative, RSVP at chair@Livingston Republicans with an S.com. Yes, with an S, plural.com. And my good assistant Tyler here is gonna type it up for us, and we'll put it across the screen. Just RSVP. Yes, I'd like to come. And then maybe tell me a little bit about yourself and what you're thinking. Oh, Rob beat you. So chair@LivingstonRepublicans.com. Make sure that you just let me know you want to do it, and we'll help you learn what you need to start thinking about, even if it's not right away, even if it's later.
Absolutely.
I feel like it's success if somebody says, okay, I do want to do this, but I'm not ready. We have now kept you from getting out there. Or if it's, what, I can do this, that's great too. So no pressure on you. But we have candidates that have already filed. They're going to come. They've never run before, and I'm looking forward to helping them. And I'm looking forward to anybody else that wants to come. So,
Trish, let me throw you a question.
Yeah.
What issues right now are winning with young people? And conversely, what issues are not doing well with young people?
So great question. So my background, for those who don't know, is political consulting, running campaigns, doing political directing, targeted to not just the youth, but just talking about the issues in general that work and don't work with voters. And I've seen firsthand how we attract the youth and how we win with the youth. The number one thing is housing. When you get out of college, the first thing, you're thrown into this world where you're struggling to find a job, struggling to find a place to live. And I think that one of the biggest criticisms with both parties is there has not been meaningful legislation having to do with making sure that young people can afford buying a house. And that is something that people are frustrated with on both sides of the aisles. And it is something that we need to address, because if we want young people to, marry young, have a family, get, involved in their community, all of that, the number one thing we need to do is make sure that they're able to afford a house and get involved in the community.
Well, and host speed dating, right?
That too. It worked. I mean, we got 30 people out there, and it was a lot of fun. Number two is we need to make sure that with the youth that we're addressing issues as not just as candidates, but as parties, addressing issues in a way that we are also talking about the impact it will have on the youth. For example, I'm hardline anti-illegal immigration. My parents came here legally. They earned their way here, and they worked hard, assimilated, and got involved in the community. But what young people don't realize is that all this illegal immigration will hurt them too, and that is something that we need to talk about more. Whether it is taking the jobs that Americans deserve. The biggest thing is crime, making sure that we're talking about how this illegal immigration will hurt them in the future, hurt their families in the future, and makes our communities unsafe. And Sheriff Mike Murphy is great on all of this, and doing a fantastic job. But talking more about these issues. And in general, talking about the economy, we all know we were happier under President Trump. President Biden kind of screwed that up for us. And again, now President Trump is bringing that back. But how are we taking the policies that he's working on and sharing them with the next generation? For example, no taxes on tips. Young people are so grateful for that, because when you have your first job and you're paying taxes on even the tips that you get from working so hard and being a good serving your constituents well, that is ridiculous. I'm so thankful that President Trump is working to get rid of that. But young people don't know much about that. If I talk to my friends nearby, they don't know that President Trump is working on that. If we take that messaging and have our candidates talk about it and run on it and support it, that will automatically give us a 5 to 7% boost in our young voter turnout and young voters supporting our candidates.
So let's do a pop quiz real quick.
Yeah.
Deb, Krish, if you had to guess, what is the average age today in 2025 of the first-time home buyer? Any guesses?
I would guess 30s.
I'd get home buyer.
First-time home buyer. What is the
Somewhere in the
average
30s?
age?
40.
It's I believe around 38, so
Yeah.
upper 30s.
I was close.
I've got some smart Republican friends to my left here. But 25 years
Lisa's got
ago,
it.
it was in the mid 20s.
Yeah.
Part of the reason that I was so fortunate to grow up in Livingston County is because my mom, at a very young age, was able to buy a home because there were lower. There you go, Lisa. Right on. Lower barriers to entry, and I hate to say it, but I don't know that the Republican Party messages enough around an issue like housing. It's not been our bread and butter, but it's a winning issue for young people because Krish is right.
So-
Young people want to be able to buy a home.
Let me throw this at you then. I'm hearing we have a problem and it's up to somebody to fix it. So tell me what you think rather than saying Republicans aren't doing anything, tell me what you think. Give me some ideas.
Well, I didn't say they're not doing anything.
Let me finish. So tell me what you think. Give me some examples of what Republicans could do to help that. Like, give me something specific.
Just to be clear, Republicans are legislating around this issue. I think
Yeah.
we need to message around
Absolutely.
it better.
We're doing so many fantastic things, but none of the young people know about it.
So, for example, Deb, the Republican Party has always been very strong on cutting red tape and removing burdensome regulations. That's our bread and butter. And that impacts housing policy because when there's burdensome regulations on builders, we don't build as many homes. And right now, home prices are high because of inventory. So, for example, in 2023, under a Democrat majority in the House of Representatives, the state of Michigan repealed its right to work laws, which was tremendously damaging to our housing market because now if you want to work in certain vocations, you may be forced to join a union and pay dues to a union that effectively subsidizes a political party, i.e. the Democrats, that you don't agree with. Not to mention we also reinstated prevailing wage laws and this hurts builders. So that's one good example.
Real quick, I just want to say one thing. The best way to make sure young people can afford houses again is stop BlackRock from buying all affordable housing. What they're doing is they're buying all the cheap housing and making it so expensive. I mean, in Troy, the average price to buy a house is $800,000. What young person can afford that? I mean, seriously, BlackRock and all these different companies are making it more expensive on purpose by buying all these homes, and it is hurting the average young person so much. And this is an issue that Charlie Kirk spoke very well on and has brought to light in the past few weeks. But notice how Charlie Kirk is actually talking about these issues. He's actually taking these issues that people don't realize but are affected by every day and bringing it to the average voters through social media and through all these different forms of messaging. We are doing policy on it. We are talking about it, but we're only talking about it to the same group of 20 or 30 people that meet every other week for these Republican events. Instead, why don't we take these issues, use social media and all these different things, and boost it out to the youth and make it more appealing? We don't want to write essays on a piece of paper and have someone read it. We want to make TikToks, we want to make videos, all these different things. So I think that the next step has to be using social media, having the funding to boost posts on social media and get our messaging out there and have more people such like Charlie Kirk that is going to the college campuses and encouraging debate. What Charlie Kirk says all the time is our country will go into war unless we have discussions about the issues going on. We
Mhm.
need to have discussions, and we need to share our messaging. I'm sick and tired of having CNN and all these corrupt left-wing media write the narrative of what the Republican Party is.
Mhm.
The thing with Donald Trump was he was able to share what his messaging is, and that is why he won the youth vote in the state of Michigan. People know what Republican Party stands for because of Donald Trump.
If only there was a local news source that countered false narratives. You could call it something like the Right Side News.
Maybe.
Shameless plug for Deb. She's
Mhm.
doing a great job.
Absolutely. So this is what we need. I mean, there's the Enjoyer podcast, which is doing a tremendous job in the state of Michigan. So many of these podcasts, the next generation loves podcasts. I mean, I
Mhm.
didn't know how popular it was getting, but now I listen to a podcast every day. We need to grow all these different smaller, local news media,
Okay.
and that is how we get our messaging out there to the local students, local activists, local young people, because Congress matters and the state house matters, but local politics matters
Oh,
the
you are
most.
talking to a local politician, girl.
Yeah.
I get it. So let me say this. Tonight was a great conversation about let us define youth first of all. That was the first conversation. What really is the next gen? All right. Now I've got my head around what you're talking about. That's a different view than I had, but that's okay. I can expand I'm not so old that I can't grow with my brain. So all right, I got my head around that. And then what you guys are doing to kind of attract that.
Mhm.
I think the policies and the issues that affect young people, I think that's a whole nother conversation that I am absolutely willing to have. So let me, before we go too far into this, let me say that I would love to invite you back and just have a discussion on, let's
Absolutely.
talk about not just because I have a firm belief, don't complain about something without bringing a solution.
Absolutely.
So let's have another talk. You tell me when.
Real
pick a
quick,
Tuesday.
I wanna make this will make you happy.
Okay.
In
I
the
like being
past,
happy.
in the past 4 weeks, one of the biggest things we're working on is writing an official youth platform for the Michigan GOP.
Good.
We should come back and talk about that.
I have 9
would love that.
interns with my internship program. I have 9 interns working on that right now.
Okay.
And they are going issue by issue and finding the solutions rather than just I was
Good.
gonna say I'm not gonna swear.
No, I get it. Complain about it. Yes,
complaining
I get
about
No,
it, right?
Right.
And that's what so many of our politicians, all they do is complain and whine.
Right. So,
Why not bring a solution
yeah,
to the
if young
table?
people are having a hard time buying houses, I want to know why, and I want to know what specifically can Republicans do to help that. Not generally, what specifically? What are some ideas that we can flesh out? Not here, but flesh out.
In 2022, we lost to abortion. What if we change the narrative to supporting pregnancy clinics? That's just an example,
Mhm.
There's nobody that's going to be against supporting pregnancy clinics and helping young teenage moms and helping,
Right.
support that. So those are the types of things we need to do, but I'll save that for a later podcast.
Right. No, that's the kind of thing that we need to sit down, but to talk about. But I really want to. You've sparked my interest here on what can we do? What policies are affecting young people? What is it they need to do? And I'll tell you, our legislators would like to hear that as well. So if we
Absolutely.
could come up with some sort of discussion on what's the issues, what's important to them, and then present some ideas on how to different methods and different who needs to come to that table.
Yeah.
Have we done this? Have we tried this? Oh, what about this?
Yeah.
So let's have that discussion. Let's bring you back for that one.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Can
So
you
I'd
tell
love
we're
to have
passionate, Deb?
and that's good. Believe me, that
It's
passion.
been a busy 3 months.
That passion
Yeah.
comes around the corner 5 minutes before the rest of you does. So that's good news. So, all right, we're going to take a break here. I thank both these next gen chiefs here for coming and sharing their vision and sharing that passion with us. So just remember that Thursday in Livingston County here, we have the next gen euchre tournament. You don't have to fit within that age group. You can be anywhere from 14 on up. 14 to 18, you come and play free. Everybody else is $5 and great prizes, great fun, great time. You can if you want to RSVP for that or ask questions, youth chair at
That's me.
LivingstonRepublicans.com. So just put youth in front of that last one I gave you. All right. So we'll be back in real quick, just to wrap things up. So stick around. Welcome to the right side.
And with me now is the brand new 7th District Chair, District 3, Livingston County Commissioner, Frank Sample. So welcome, Frank.
You're very active in the American Legion.
Correct.
You're very active in the VFW.
This ideology is very damaging to the students who are told if you get this surgery and make do the social transition, the medical transition, then you'll be happy and all your problems will be solved.
Yes,
Learned so much.
I'll bet. That's some institutional knowledge right there.
And we have, as a special guest, as I said earlier, we have Kevin Rankin with us. Welcome, Kevin. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Go Vogue. Thanks, Kelly.
There are those everywhere.
We have, but we love meeting new people.
Right, yes.
It's in good shape, so that's good news.
That safeness is not afforded to every citizen. They are special.
There's a difference between men and women. There's a biological difference, and it's time for us to stand up for our girls.
He went through, and he came back with a report said there's no way Detroit can meet its obligations on the tax base.
Yes.
So is this DEI focused just on the high school, or are they talking about all
district, the entire district?
Maybe that's kind of normal. It's really not. There tends to be little fiefdoms with different police agencies and police versus fire and fire versus EMS and blah blah blah. That's not the case here. So Livingston County is very fortunate.
Hey, not too long ago, in many of our lifetimes, Detroit was the 3rd largest city in America.
Oh yeah,
3.2 million citizens.
It's been a great experience. I mean, I have no regrets about moving here.
There's an old saying that the road will get you elected, the jail will get you unelected. So, to give you an idea.
You have to have a reason to change for change to be enacted. And I am back just to wrap things up here. Great show tonight. I come here, I'm all pumped up. I write all my questions. I got a book here of all my questions I'm going to ask my guests every week, and I get so pumped up. But there are times when I leave here and I'm just exhausted because of the discussion or the thought process, or especially if we're handling something emotional. Or I remember when Angela and Alex Yarber's daughter came here, and I'm sorry I forget her first name because I'm old. That's the only good thing about being old, is you can forget things and you don't have to apologize. You're just old. And so, but she was so articulate and intelligent, and she had such a passionate message about being a high school girl where boys could walk in the bathroom. But I mean, it was such a good conversation. It was so eye-opening, and she was just terrific. I went home drained because it was so emotional. And so for me, it is, sometimes the conversation gets intense. Tonight, on the other hand, it was, just fun and energetic. You can feed off of Spencer and Krish's energy all day long. I think anybody, they could raise the dead with that energy. So, and that's good. And then Mike Rogers, of course, is always energetic and full of passion. And we're going to date ourselves here, but all that stuff that happened, Mike Rogers, I think, went to school about 2 years behind me. So, we remember a lot of the same things. And I'll tell you what, I got the best compliment in probably my entire life by him comparing me to his mother. She's just an amazing lady. And so like I said, I could retire right now and be very happy. But tonight was one of those nights where I'm just going to go home and be all energetic. And so I'll probably go home and mop the floor or something. Jay, hear that? Good news. So just because of all the energy and all the passion. So we're looking forward. I know we got some commitments from our statewide candidates. I'm just waiting to iron out those dates. I did get a confirmation on the 24th that Carla Wagner is going to come and talk about Axe My Tax. That is on everybody's mind right now. So let's get our questions ready for that. I think, Axe My Tax is sounds like a great thing, and it probably is. But I know this, having worked in the legislature for a long time, I've seen laws get pushed and done, and it sounded great, but the worst two words in any situation legislatively are unintended consequences. So I think the devil's going to be in the details for the Axe My Tax. It's, what I don't want, and Jay, really, my husband Jay, gave me the best visual I could think of, that some, laws are words. They're based on words, and the words connected in law, even though they're separate concepts, if they connect in the law, you can't just take one out without taking the other out. So you picture, his visual he gave me was this giant Jenga game. All right. And you pull a Jenga from the middle or from the bottom, and it might slide out and nothing else changes. But on the other hand, it might slide out and you didn't know other things were sitting on it, and it crumbles. That's what I'm concerned about with Axe My Tax. It may be completely fleshed out and thought about, and if that's the case, I'm gonna sign right here in front of God and everybody else. I'm gonna sign that petition. But I want to know what's going to happen to the millages that have been passed. Am I a fan of millages? No, but I am a fan of respecting the vote, even if it didn't go my way. If that's what voters wanted, that's what voters wanted, right? I don't want fire and police to be disrupted because this movement acts the property tax and is a millage in the law connected to that, or does it sit on top of it like a Jenga piece? I don't know. So that's the kind of questions I want to ask Carla. I am really, really, truly hoping that she tells me, nope, that's a separate situation. Here's why, and I'm going to be happy. So for all of you, please come up with your questions and get them ready, because we're going to be taking them live on here. So that'd be on the 24th. And so we, like I said, I'm still working with other statewide candidates to bring them on. So I know I got a verbal from Eric Nesbitt. I got a verbal from Mike Cox that they would come on. I think John James's his campaign person, also said he would attend. So looking forward to getting them on, and we're going to get some also answers. Also, we're going to hear from Carla on the 24th, Lisa. So also we have a school situation. I'm trying to, Glenn Gogolewski and John Connolly and Jason Bedford, Glenn being school board members or former school board members, we're getting together and we're going to put together a school program where every week we're going to touch on, or every other week we're going to touch on a school issue, and just update everybody, giving everybody the unedited, uncensored situation of what's coming on in your school. So that's going to be interesting. Stay tuned for that. All right. Well, we're going to call it a night here, and thanks everybody for watching. And just remember, we got our euchre tournament coming here Thursday. Next Wednesday, the 18th, we have some free ballroom dancing classes. We're going to be at the American Legion 141 on the corner of Grand River and 59 at I think 6. I think 6:30 it starts, but 6 is we'll get there 5:36 and just grab a bite to eat. They have good food there, and we're going to learn the tango and the swing and the waltz, and it doesn't matter if you have a partner, and it doesn't matter if you have 5 left feet. We're just going there to have a good time. This is not Dancing with the Stars. This is just Dancing with Republicans. So it'll be fun there. And then on the 4th Thursday, then the 19th, we have our new candidate class. So please, if you're ever thinking about running ever, let's have that, attend, and let's have that discussion. And then on the 4th Thursday, we're going to have here at the Victory Center, we're going to have bring a Republican to dinner. Our great volunteer coordinator, our membership directors, our co-chairs, Mike and Sharon Stanton, who were coincidentally awarded the Volunteers of the Year award. They're going to be hosting a cookout here. We're going to be roasting some hot dogs and dish to pass. And we had our pancake breakfast, our pancake cook-off, or somebody said our flip-off. We Michelle Blondil and I went toe to toe with some pancakes, and they were I'll tell you something. They were both great pancakes. We had a great day. We had a great breakfast, but it'll be like that, but just for dinner. So no contest that time, unless somebody wants to challenge me to something. So let me know if you do, and we'll make sure we go. I'm always up for a challenge, especially when it comes to cooking. So okay, we're have a good night. We'll see you here next Tuesday. We'll see you here Thursday for the euchre or euchre game, euchre tourney. That's the word, tourney, euchre tournament, and then we'll see you next Tuesday on the right side. Thanks.